It's Open Line Friday. Rush Limbaugh having more fun than a human being should be allowed to have. Here is that second soundbite. Armin Katayan. CBS this morning, Charlie Rose talking with the bicycling magazine guy, Peter Flax, who in the previous soundbite we heard say he is convinced that Lance Armstrong doped. He's convinced of it. But he's also the victim of a witch hunt. How? I mean, if he did it, and they're trying to track him down, what's the witch hunt? The witch hunt, if he didn't do it. Now he's into his retirement, and they're still pursuing the guy. Armstrong says, I've had it. I got 500 tests. I passed every test. They've got no evidence. I've had it with this. So Charlie Rose says, okay, Armin Katayan is the CBS chief investigative correspondent. He's on Gumbel's show on HBO, or was at one point, Real Sports. He's a sports investigative guy. Here's what he said.
This process has become so politicized from going back 5 years now. It's not a government agency. It's a private organization, a nonprofit organization that has a stake in this politically to prove that Lance Armstrong has been doping to send a message to other athletes. And I don't know, when you talk about a fair process and safe sport, how much this really adds to that.
So he loses all these titles. What happens?
If they just hand the jersey to whomever came in second, all of those men are convicted dopers, people who've made financial settlements to get out of a doping case. Well, I spent 7 years watching it. Someone won those Tour de France. Lance Armstrong did. I saw it.
Yep. He did, and the other people have doped, and they've proved it on the others. And they're also talking, snurdly, they want to take away his endorsement money. Retroactively, they want to get every dollar he was ever paid. He was on the U.S. Postal Service team. He was on the U.S. Postal Service team, and as such, the team was bankrolled by the Postal Service. But they want to go after his endorsements, prize money, everything. They want to strip Lance Armstrong of everything he's got. Well, Snurtley said, who did he make mad? Who the hell did he tick off? That's, sadly, it's a legitimate question. Speaking of this, I was reading Phil Mushnick today. Oh. Speaking of Mushnick, sports columnist of the New York Post, he had a piece earlier this week on politics. He's an acknowledged Democrat, and he says he's finally become convinced of media bias. And his story was about David Plouffe, Obama's advisor, going all over the world making $100,000 a speech from little countries that can't afford it. Advising them on the ins and outs of the U.S. political process. And Mushnick was saying, why the hell is this not a big story? Why is the media not reporting? Now, of all the things that are out there that would convince somebody in the media that his buddies are biased, I mean, but nevertheless, he thinks it's a big story that the media isn't covering. The fact that one of Obama's chief advisors is out making $100,000 a speech from little countries that don't have the money to pay it in the first place for advice on how to get in the American political cronyism. And he's got a point. Anyway, reading Mushnick today. Mushnick's every Friday, Sunday, and Monday in the New York Post. And he has a thing about Warren Sapp, the former defensive tackle number 99 of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Sapp has filed for bankruptcy. One of Mushnick's big causes is the cultural rot that is taking place in sports, on television, and throughout our society. And he chronicles it. And he also is a critic of various sports telecasts, ESPN, this sort of thing. But he, in discussing this Warren Sapp business, is Warren Sapp filed for bankruptcy. He's got alimony and child payments and so forth. And when it listed his assets, Warren Sapp has 240 pairs of Air Jordans. And I'm thinking, what do you need 240 pair of Air Jordans for? And I collect stuff. So maybe it's a collection. Anyway, just a little side note. But yeah, they're going to take everything away from Lance Armstrong. That's their objective, including all the money. A random act of journalism. By the way, Nike is standing by Armstrong. They're going to keep Armstrong's endorsement contract. That's what they did with Tiger Woods as well. I mean, Nike loves guys with tude. Nike loves the guys with attitude. They love them. They love the guys that skirt the edge. I love those guys. So anyway, random act of journalism on CNN last night. Everybody was getting emails all night long. Rush, you got to see this. Rush, you got to talk about this. Rush, you got to tell people. Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz was taken to the woodshed by Wolf Blitzer. Now, folks, can I say something about this? We've got a lot of sound bites on this, and there's no question. Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz went on CNN and tried to lie about a story in the LA Times and Mitt Romney and Wolf. No, I'm sorry, it's Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper would not let her get away with it. Anderson Cooper just jumped down her throat, made her look like the blabbermouth fool that she is. Now, stop and think. I'm getting emails all night. The conservative media press came to a stop. It was stop the presses. Look what's... And it struck me how rare real journalism is. How rare it is that a mainstream media outlet actually questions the honesty and veracity of a Democrat. How rare that is. That when it happened last night on CNN, everybody stopped what they were doing and told everybody they knew about it. And to me, that alone is an illustration of just how out of whack the media is. We all know it is. But it's great to find unique, different illustrations of it. And I think this is a good one. Here we have, this ought to be happening every day. I mean, the media loves to say that what they do is speak truth to power, or whatever that convoluted phrase is. The media loves to tell us that they're the ones that are going to make sure the powerful are kept in check. We are going to make sure that the powerful are held accountable for what they do. When we find cronyism, of course, they don't anymore. They align themselves with the power when the power is with Democrats. There is no interest in holding the powerful accountable. The only thing the media cares about is the same thing that Democrats care about, and that is defeating, however necessary, conservatives. Tarring, feathering, discrediting, impugning the character, honesty, and veracity of conservatives, whatever it takes, the media has joined that. Here we have a random act of journalism. Here we have the media actually doing something that ought to be happening every day for everybody in power. They ought to be doing this to Republicans, conservatives, liberals, Democrats, whoever. But they never do it with Democrats. And when they do, it shocks and stuns everybody. And they say, looky. And that's how rare it is. So we got to take a brief obscene profit time out. When we come back, I'll let you hear this random act of journalism that took place with Anderson Cooper on CNN last night.